suggest years ago. I did suggest years ago to have more meetings after the. What I say, Sarah, back when I was in class. They keep saying, 100 years ago when I was on the board. So now I'm saying, back when I was young.
Okay, it is 6 o'clock. This is a little bit of a unique meeting. We're gonna start out with the oath of office for our new board members, so bear with us for just a little while and then we'll get started with the actual meeting.
You're good. We want to welcome our new board members and congratulations. And we're excited you're here to support our district. And so the oath of office actually is a piece of paper that they sign and we get out to the county. And so it's kind of up to you guys if you want to do a formal oath of office or if you want to just, okay. So they signed their oath of offices. We will be getting that to the county where it can be notarized and be official. And so we talked to the county today and they are waiting for those papers to arrive tomorrow morning. So anyway, thank you for being here and welcome to the board. We're excited you're here.
Okay, with that, welcome on board and we'll get started on our first meeting. So I'm gonna call the meeting to order. And if I could ask everybody, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Brandon Earl. Here. Andrea Kreifels.
Here.
Sarah Lawrence.
Here.
Jason Newberry.
Here.
Jessica Seeliger.
Here.
Robert White.
Here.
Pat Zika.
Here.
Okay. Next thing we have is the adoption of the agenda. We do need a little modification on the agenda. Just a little oversight as we were putting it together. We moved the executive session the last time to help with the flow of business. It needs to be moved back down to a lower spot in the meeting just for, I guess, just because that's the way we always do it, so. So I would recommend that we move the executive session from item 4.0 to item, what would that be? 6. Actually, it'd be right
Takes the
above
place to 6, yeah, and those
Yeah.
two move up.
6 point, yeah, flip flop those two.
Yep.
So everybody understand that there?
Make a motion to move that to the court.
Okay,
I'll second.
so we've got a motion to accept the agenda with the proposed change. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same. Okay.
Thank you.
And the next item we have is recognition of patrons. So we have
Yes.
somebody signed up tonight.
Yep, Mr. Josh Sapp is here to visit with the board this evening.
Okay, come on forward.
Thank you.
Thanks for sending us this information. This will help a ton, because like you said in your email, you know, it's gonna be kind of tough to cover that information in 3 minutes.
Yeah, in
There's
3
a lot.
minutes to go over 5 years worth of
Sure.
experience and
And
understanding.
we'll get this to the insurance committee so
Sweet.
they can have that information.
Yeah, first of all, thank you guys for having me. Try to make this quick. I know I've got 3 minutes, but you guys, most of you know who I am, so I'm going to skip the formal introduction. We can get into that later. I want to talk to you guys about your second largest business expense, which is your employee benefits, specifically your health insurance benefit. You can't do much to cut costs on your first one, which is your payroll, without firing people, but you can indeed do things to change your cost and your budget for your health insurance. And it's not rocket science. I do it every day for my clients, employers much smaller than you and employers that are much larger than you. So it just takes a little bit of ingenuity, a little bit of creativity. I hear from employer groups, employees, citizens of America every single day, 4 concerns, 4 frustrations with regard to traditional insurance. The first is that our premiums rise every single year. Your premiums rose 32% this year with Blue Cross Blue Shield. How do we think our employees felt about that? Probably not very good about it. So that's the first concern. The second is that our benefits get worse over time. If you look at the Kaiser Family Foundation, I included in that document a graph showing you what the problem is. Over the last 30 years, our premiums have gone up significantly. Over the last 30 years, our benefits have gotten worse over time. And deductibles have risen substantially just in the last 10 years. People are becoming more and more functionally uninsured. The third thing is that no one is advocating for employees or consumers with any kind of fiduciary responsibility to help them find high quality and low cost care, to pay less for care, or to pay less in premium, you have to pay less in care. And there are ways to do that. I mean, it's not the traditional status quo stuff that's going to get you there. Lastly, employees are becoming more and more frustrated. I would bet that people are not happy. And so to get different results, we have to make different decisions. And I'm here to help you with that. There's not going to be another consultative fiduciary advisor that's going to care more for your employees than me, because I know them personally and I love them and I care about them. I'm from here. I care about these people. They raised me. And so I want to do everything I can to drastically change and turn this ship around, this employee benefit ship around. I'm going to just address those four things for you real quick. The concern of premium rising every year. We can save, I've estimated based on national averages for your group size. I don't have specific data because I've not ever been given it, but about $350,000 in dollars that would stay with the district and those employees. $350,000 estimated on national averages. That's obviously going to create a better ecosystem for your employees. It's going to make them happier. Benefit design, your benefits would be much more rich. Your employees could experience no copays, no deductibles, no max out-of-pocket responsibility whatsoever, and have access to the highest quality care that they've ever had in their lives at no cost. Benefit design. We would implement a consumer advocate to help them, a partner to help them navigate the complexity of healthcare. No one's doing that currently. Your employees are out to fend for themselves. It's pretty complex, trust me. We would help them, that advocate would help them to find high quality, low cost care, and it wouldn't cost them a dime to have that advocacy. I can provide specific examples of how we do this, but obviously I don't have much time. I want to just note real quick, broker relationship. You guys have accepted increase after increase after increase after increase, and no one has done much with regard to creative, innovative thinking to get you out of that insane cycle. Again, you can't get different results if different decisions aren't made. My firm, as a consultative fiduciary advisor, works directly for my clients. We don't have any indirect compensation schedules. So you work for who pays you. Do you agree? Right? You don't work for the district, but you work for your employers because they pay you. You want to make sure that your broker has the best and full interest of you and your employees, your district and your employees. My firm charges a one fee to each month per employee to make sure we're doing the best we can and we have your full interest at heart. There are some federal compliance concerns that I have with regard to your current arrangement, which I've detailed in length ad nauseum in that document. We should address those. It's on you as the employer, as the district, as the plan sponsor. The onus is on you guys, not the carriers, not the brokers, not the TPA, no other vendor. The responsibility is on the plan sponsor to make sure that those things are accounted for. And I can detail 4 of those things that I have concerns about. Lastly, my final plea, and then I'll get out of your hair unless you have questions, is to just let me have a conversation with your insurance committee. Help them understand, better educate them about the creative, innovative choices and strategies that you can implement. Again, it's not rocket science. I do this for employers every single day. In that booklet, the very last page is a reference of a shining star, probably one of the most valuable benefit plans in the state of Kansas. They have fewer employees than you, and over the last 5 years they've been with us since leaving Blue Cross. They've decreased their premiums, they've increased the value of their benefit, and their employees have never been more satisfied. So thank you guys for your time. Any questions for me specifically?
What were the 4 things you said you could say real quick?
The what?
You said there are 4 things?
Oh, the compliance issues? Yeah, so I mean,
That's too long.
yeah, there's so much involved in that conversation. Federal compliance, the Consolidated Appropriations Act is very important for you guys to consider. It's about a 5,000-page document that was put out in 2021 by the federal government. There are specific responsibilities that you guys are responsible for that I believe are not being addressed.
So are you like an HMO, a PPO?
Yeah, that's a great question. We would eliminate networks. Your employees wouldn't be tied to any particular providers. They can go anywhere they want. We want to send them to the highest quality care providers for a few reasons. The first is the price is going to be significantly less. I can give you an example of a knee replacement. Client of mine, total knee replacement in Salina, Kansas, they were going to charge their health plan $85,000 for that knee replacement. We got it done in Oklahoma City for $27,000. That employee got a $5,000 cash incentive in their pocket for traveling. They got all their travel, all their stay paid for. They got a credit to their max out of pocket. Didn't pay a dime for it. Their health plan saved $60,000. One knee replacement.
What if could they have stayed at that place?
Could have. They would have been responsible for their deductible. They would have been, yeah.
You would have covered it. Like
Oh, yeah.
normal, but-
We want to steer them to higher quality
Right,
options, which ultimately results in better costs for everyone involved. Great question. Thank you.
And Josh, are you working with our rec center currently?
Yeah, so that's a different strategy. They're a smaller,
Oh, okay.
a smaller entity. They've got 3 employees that are using a different thing.
Okay.
They wouldn't have the population size to do what we would do here.
Would be your first school?
Well, so we work with TPAs that do have plenty of schools. It would be my first school, yeah. But it's no different. I mean, it's an employee population that's coming from traditional status quo, prehistoric strategies to something innovative and creative that's going to create massive change.
How many of our teachers, how many people took on to your group?
Individually,
Yeah.
I can't be sure. I mean,
Yeah.
less than
I know some
10, less than 10,
Yeah.
some
I knew
did.
some have already.
But that's a totally different strategy again because it's not an
Because it's not
employer of
good.
size, yeah.
Thank you.
Any other
Thanks.
questions?
I just want to thank you for coming up. I know it's a lot, it's a drive for you.
Sure.
You've been at lots of school board meetings and lots of negotiation meetings, so I just appreciate the effort and the time that you put into looking at this issue for us.
100%. Thank you guys for your time.
Thanks.
Yep.
Okay, moving on. First item in discussion is Education Spotlight, WHS Sun Power Challenge.
Mr. Starnes is here with his students to present this.
Yes, I am. So I'm Chris Starnes. I'm your gifted facilitator for the district, and Boston Maverick and Ray Lynn are gonna tell you what we're doing. I have 2 other students. They're wrestling and scholars both.
So we're a part of the Sun Powered Student Challenge. And so 5 students every morning at 7:15, well every weekday I guess, come in and work on building solar panels and just learning about them I guess. We're doing this by completing activities that are in our student guide. This is the ground mount. We've put this together with no instructions really. It just showed us what we needed and then that's all the book said. So I mean, it was just figure it out, I guess. So, yeah, it's pretty cool. We got a competition on the 5th of February in Topeka, coming very soon. We're currently working on another model of a small house, and so that's gonna be really neat when we get that together. Thank you to Sumner County Electric Co-op for providing this opportunity and for our district and everyone for helping with the money and all of that.
How many things will you take to that competition?
So we'll take 5 students and we're gonna take our house model that we're making.
So what's your ground mount do? What's the
So
principle?
this is just allows us to
Get the solar rays.
get the solar array. This helps us just place it on the ground, get our measurements, and we can change it out so we get different panels on there and just see kind of.
So you're checking the different outputs based on the, awesome. Good deal.
So, yeah.
So the competition is to create a house and power it with solar.
Yes, so we have to make sure we get the right amount because if you provide too much electricity then it can be bad in some scenarios because then you're just wasting money on electricity that you don't need. And so our goal is to find the perfect amount of electricity. Right.
And you do this at 7:15 because there's no other time in the day.
Yeah.
So
couldn't
like,
fit
you
into
guys
our
are like the
schedules.
gifted I don't know if they call it the gifted program, but that's
All the students that are in the gifted program, but there are other students that are not in this that are still in the gifted program.
How did you get hooked up with Sumner County Electric?
I think that was all kind of the principal and school was kind of there.
Sure, I see now.
It was kind of their doing. We just got invited. So.
Yeah, that's really
So
neat.
there was the cooperatives, the rural cooperatives put together this, it's a curriculum, but it's funneled through a competition. And so that's why they covered this box of materials. And so that we've been working through it and then working through the activities, and it's leading us to this is the first time they've ever done this. And so we're in all the schools participating, we're all doing it for the first time. So it was a good opportunity.
Sumner County Electric supplies all your big box full of stuff.
Yeah, so
Yes.
just to kind of give a little background, and I'm Abby Walton, I'm our Communications and Member Services at Sumner Cali. But yes, this is the first time that we're doing it. It's called PITSCO, it's out of Pittsburgh, Kansas. The overall goal for this was high schools all over the state of Kansas. Their goal was to get 10. We reached out to different schools that obviously we covered for electricity. Wellington, of course, was definitely excited to jump on that. And what we do is, they provide it, they give the team, we sponsor the entire process. They gather all the material as far as putting it together for practice, and then when they get there, they will build that house. Is that correct?
We're pre-building it.
And then you
They
present
get-
it on
And
the-
basically, they say, here's the situation, you need to hit this much power
Yeah.
under these conditions. They have to put it together and
see what the issues
There you
arise and kind of guide them through that. And I think I want to say it was last week, they had 18 different schools that will be there, and so their goal was 10, so they went way over their goal for this. So it's a great opportunity, we're excited, so thank you.
Yeah, that's cool.
Good job.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, good job, guys.
Okay, next item on discussion is a district goal update.
Yes. So we thought it would be good this evening to kind of explain our process mid-year, especially for our new board members, and discuss how that kind of looks mid-year as we are working on our goals. So essentially, each year when we get to the summer, or start getting towards the summer, we start talking about revising the strategic plan and then making our district goals out of that plan.
Yeah.
So as I explained in the planning session a while back, our strategic plan is a 5-year outlook of the district of things we would like to get done. And then we typically take district goals out of that, which is what the board agrees to. These are the focus for this year. Not that the other things aren't a focus, but these are the things that we especially want to get done this year. And then those things are also tied into superintendent's evaluation, along with other things, which continuously drives goals within the district. A couple things that always come up, so you're aware ahead of time in your brains, that typically comes up as we approach that. Is whether the board wants to invite another entity in to help with that process. KSB will come in and help with strategic planning processes and goal processes, and so that is always available as an opportunity to have other brains in the room to help process everything that's going on in the district and the needs that the district has. And so that's something that I will offer every year, something else I will bring up every year, which has been good or bad with opinion wise with board members over the years, is whether the board wants to go on some sort of retreat to talk about those goals in a different area, so you can get your head kind of out of the district and dream up some things. So that is another thing that gets brought up every year, and so that will get brought up again this year as we head through this process. But right now it is January and we are halfway through our process, and so we thought it was important tonight to discuss each of these goals, and we will try to be as brief as we can, but also answer questions. And then also, if you have any questions after this, because this is going to be a lot of information, then please reach out to me, because some of you will have been a part of this process and some of you are brand new to it. So district goals for 23-24, all coming out of the strategic plan that was approved by the board this year. The first one is to create policy for district enrollment to meet legislative requirements and local enrollment needs. So we had two things that were going on as a topic at the table. One was the legislature over the last couple of years has been working towards enrollment processes with districts. That turned into a out of district enrollment policy. It also kind of blended in with the restructuring talks the district had brought up a few years ago. And so the most recent board decision as far as November, December time period when we finished this up was to go ahead and approve the non-resident enrollment policy as legislative required, but there has not been any changes to the structure of the district as far as how it's set up school-wise. And because of that, it also affects some of the other goals that are up here. They're all interconnected, and so we want to be able to explain how that is effective as well. So that is still on the table for this board if you choose to take it up. Is the concept of whether the district structure needs to be looked at or not, and at this point, that has not been a change that the board has chosen to make. So we did get the enrollment policy out there. Recently, some districts have been getting those back from legal and asking us to reformat those a little bit, not necessarily the content of them, but the way it's formatted. And so I have an appointment with an attorney to make sure that our policy is reading correctly legislatively. So we'll be working on that. Yeah.
Did we have a timeline when local students can transfer?
The board chose not to put that piece in.
So
as far as transferring
from school to school.
Right.
So
it's still the old process where if they want to put in a transfer request, then it would be looked at under the old process. It's not. We brought up the idea of possibly having a full transfer system within the district.
I've just heard that several schools they have deadlines coming up for in-district transfers.
So we'll have a deadline coming up for people to apply for non-resident students to come into the district. But as far as inter-district transfer, the board took that out of the policy that we had talked about. So that did not become part of the policy. And Jen, you can shut me up and jump in anytime.
So that goal adds in local enrollment needs, and we still have those needs. We have classrooms that are drastically different in number sizes throughout the district that needs to be fixed somehow. And we've discussed a few ways to do that, but do we, want to make that a separate goal since we separated it? Or do you want to continue to work on that? Because it definitely is something that needs to be fixed.
And when we come up with the numbers that we will need to publish for the non-resident enrollment policy, then we will bring those classroom numbers to you, and that might be a good time to have that talk as well. So that'll be coming up soon because we will have to publish that as a board.
Did we ever find out how many bus students? I think that was asked at the last meeting for this policy. How many bus students we actually have?
Altogether,
yeah.
I think it's around 68 or something like that. That's what I remember from that conversation. The second one, and remember this is back in July, so lots happened since then. Develop new preschool goals with the Board of Education. So currently we are working with Futures Unlimited, and we have 2 classrooms that do morning and afternoon classes at Kennedy, and so through that program and expanding that program beyond Futures into Kennedy and inviting in community enrollment, we have actually been able to have 28 additional preschool students in town receive preschool services through them, which was a very positive mark when we moved towards that contract. As far as expansion of preschool for our community, as you know, our community has numerous different preschools, and so that concept over time that all those different community groups have taken care of preschool in our community. A lot of people are receiving preschool services through that. If we ever expand from where we are at in the future, we will need to have some sort of space to do that that is not currently available. And so that entity comes in with the board's decision on sticking with our current structure. Is we continue to have some pretty our population is consuming all of our space essentially at this time, and so. If we ever have one of our preschool programs in town that ends up closing or something like that, currently we would not have the space without immediately going out and finding that space or buying a building or doing whatever we needed to do under our current structure to expand or take in those preschool kids that were a part of another program. That hasn't happened yet. I know there's been talk of it the last couple of years with different programs, but that hasn't officially happened yet. So we're really proud of the work over the last few years of getting those additional spots for preschool services for kids, but we are definitely, at capacity for anything that we can do as far as expansion with the way we're currently structured.
Are the Futures preschool classrooms at capacity this year?
They are close, yeah. I know when I talked to Krista, they're closed. So. And they're always bracing for move-ins in the middle, especially with special education services and some of that. So they're always kind of playing that game. So
could classrooms go back to where they were at Lincoln when they were at Kennedy and Lincoln? Thinking about more space.
Lincoln was.
I know Lincoln's full.
Yeah, Lincoln was. It was a big stress on Lincoln when we started restructuring some classrooms and. Going down to one teacher in some grades, which is what opened up those classrooms at Kennedy. We were able to, that's kind of where the space has been since then. I know at Lincoln we have had one classroom or one of our grades has one teacher. And so that has allowed a little bit of expanding with music and some of those things in that whereas before the music teacher was on a stage and so it's pretty compact the way we're structured now. So Kennedy is where the space is now, and that's why it's there. So
you would almost have to either build or put K1 in one school, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that.
Yeah, or buy or whatever. You'd have to expand somehow. You have to expand somehow. Yeah. Okay, will you go back to the back? I know it's the same thing, but it makes my brain happier for some reason. Okay, thank you. Okay, parents as teachers. So we are kind of mid-year on this. We did have a meeting with a parents as teachers program manager that is doing that program within the county at some of our county schools. And great lady. It was a really good visit that day. And so currently in our community, Rainbows is doing our special ed as far as infant through 2 years old. We were kind of hoping with our conversation with her that it would be a little bit more expansive than that as far as the services we would be able to provide. It is a 50-50 match on funding for that program. Once again, we don't have any room to grow as far as putting those programs in. I have council of superintendents in Topeka next week, and I know they have on the agenda that the deputy commissioner is going to talk about parents as teachers. So sometimes when that happens, that also involves funding from the legislature. So we'll see how that conversation goes next week, and I will be able to expand on that in the future. But right now, it was much more, as far as that program, it was much more, felt like it didn't expand as far as we needed it to with Rainbows doing their part currently. So
it sounded like it would overlap when we do have a population of kids that aren't special ed that still need those services. So with one person, we would probably overlap with what the rain houses do.
Yeah, if we stuck just to special education, yeah. On the next one is implement and support secondary education plans. So Mr. Meyer and Mr. Nance got together and prior to the school year and have been both working on focusing their teachers on PLCs, professional learning communities within their buildings. And they've been going through that process. I know the middle school got a little bit later start than the high school, but everybody is rocking through that now. And so I will have Mr. Nance and Mr. Meyer here sometime in the spring give you a presentation. They're loving hearing this right now. Give you a presentation on how that has been going in their buildings and how that has impacted the teachers in the district. Jen, you want to talk about accreditation goals?
So we'll be working on accreditation goals, which will probably tie into some of these goals as well. We talked about chronic absenteeism, and our team still needs to get together and talk about maybe some other goals that could come out of this. Probably 2 to 3 goals at the most that are measurable, that we can tie to the state's focus, which is on the next slide. The 4 fundamentals of focus. So we'll be working on those and have some goals for you soon.
Yeah, the state, as far as pushing forward accreditation, we left a 5-year cycle last year, and we're accredited for the next 5 years, which is great. However, they have now moved to a every year cycle instead of a 5-year cycle. And so what they are pushing massively right now, which fits really well for our district, considering where our district is at currently, in that our board has worked really hard the last 5-6 years of laying a really, really amazing curriculum foundation across the district. They are very much wanting us to focus. You can see the word in all 4 sentences there. Instruction, instruction, instruction. So we now have an opportunity which we would have been doing anyway, but it fits right in with accreditation, of taking that curriculum foundation and really, really focusing on instruction. And at the bottom, we have been around talking to different staffs at different schools, and then also some of our site councils, and really feel like we're doing a great job in 3 of those areas, getting better with data, and Dr. Kern and teachers have done an amazing job of aligning standards. We are doing literacy instruction across the district all the time right now. The one thing that we would really like to drive forward with our new accreditation model is the bottom one. We definitely feel like we have quality instruction in the district, and we have high expectations, but we feel like that could be much stronger. We feel like the high expectations of not only of our teachers, but also of our students receiving that instruction is a big focus for us to work on. So we're definitely targeting that in some of our goals, and moving forward with accreditation with that, along with the next goal, I think. Jen, if you want to
Go back to your slide.
Yeah, thank you. So, educate parents, teachers, and students on absenteeism and support practices that reduce chronic absenteeism. So, our district always had a really, really, really good attendance rate. The whole time I have been here, it has been really good. Our district, like all districts after the pandemic, has struggled in that area. Getting kids back to school, enrolling, and being a part of normal life again. So it's much worse in other areas of the world, but here we compared to our expectations and where we were at before, we would definitely like to see our absenteeism be better than it's at. So do you want to talk about what you and Russ have kind of been doing recently with that, as far as educating?
Yeah, each month we plan to just send out some education on how attendance affects grades and social, emotional, and just students in general. So we're hoping that that education makes a little bit of an impact. And then we plan on targeting those students also that are chronically absent and sending that material snail mail just to make sure that they're seeing it, that they understand that, because a lot of it starts as low as kindergarten and affects the way they learn to read and how successful they are.
Is there any contact with those families, just kind of getting their perspective of what the barrier might be from their side of things?
So that is another part of it that we may roll into our KISA as well, just to make sure that those students get into GEI and that we're looking at the data, because maybe it is chronic absenteeism that is causing them not to be successful in school. So we want to make sure that we have all the data there together, and then together with our SRO, figure out how we can help them, and maybe it is a transportation issue or something that can be fixed. So.
Yep. And I know chronic absenteeism has been a building goal in a lot of our buildings. And do any of you guys want to talk about just briefly like your contact with families and
Do what?
Bob put in his newsletter what the middle school's going to do or doing, which is, I think is excellent.
Myself and Mr. Offengarden and Sammy Brown, we sat down and we just went through some of our data on just absenteeism in general, and just came up with some initiatives, things that we wanted to start doing in the second half of the year. And one of them was our counselor is reaching out to families if we don't get a call that day. So during one of her lunch periods that she supervises, we kind of move people around, and she goes in and she starts calling every day. The other one was, which I have to say, kudos to our SRO. She's been fantastic. I think everybody here would agree. But also to work with her directly on possibly setting up home visits if necessary. We're setting up monthly incentives. We did have some awards that we did for the first half, but I think setting up monthly incentives for students that are achieving high attendance. Trying to think of what else I have in there. So, also kind of in line with what you had talked about, Jen Weir, Kristen White, she has editing rights for our portion of the website for the middle school. So she's been putting out, she started just with the first one last week of some just educational material on how absenteeism is affecting academics. And so we plan to do that on a weekly basis and just getting more information out there. So just something we kind of sat down and put together and felt like it would have an impact.
How do you define chronic absenteeism?
I think that it's 10% of the total days. So if the students achieve 10%, then they're listed as chronically absent.
That's excused or unexcused. So like first semester, if a kid missed 8 days, they were chronically absent.
Okay, and you do the calculation at the end of what, every semester then, or is it like a running total?
It kind of, even on our Infinite campus, it tells us
Okay.
if they're federally chronically absent. It adds it up automatically.
At the high school, we're doing that as well. We're calling. I have lists run by the secretary at the end of every week, and we call kids who've missed, and there's no reason they've missed, or we don't have a phone call on that as well. And once they get to that chronic number, we're going to go on porch visits as well, and then we talk to the families, find out why they're missing. Then we chart that data there in the main office so people can see it.
Does there seem to be like a common theme that you're hearing, like without
At the high
obviously
school, it's a
reducing-
lot of, I didn't wake up, or, I know we've gone to some homes, we've gone with Leslie, I know Audrey and Leslie went, and it's just, the kids who we've talked to, it's just, I just didn't feel like coming today. And we've gotten one, Leslie has gone and picked her up that just had a few things to do to finish, and we're getting that taken care of so that she'll have that opportunity as well, instead of failing out of school. So.
I know that those habits bleed into their life after they graduate as well, so we wanna try to fix it now. Try to make those good habits when they're younger.
One thing the district is working on to try to support all this is we have met with the county and they have a grant available for next school year. And so we are going to try to possibly get a staff member that would work specifically for the district. I don't know if this would turn into a second SRO type situation, or I have talked to Chief Heath about that being a possibility, or if we get some sort of truancy would have some teeth in the game. That's really a piece that's been missing for a long time. And we can turn in truancy paperwork over and over and over again. If there's not somebody with some teeth that can handle it on the other end, it makes it difficult for our principals to accomplish things. So that's one of the things that we're working on our end. I appreciate the county giving us that information. We had a good meeting with them on that as well.
When you've gone to the house, I'm sure you meet parents that say they don't care, do whatever they want, but do you run into some parents that don't know their kid's skipping school, that doesn't know that they're not attending? And do you find them that they help you get that kid back in school, or just kind of?
I've been in contact with one. She didn't know her son was failing, didn't know he wasn't attending, because she leaves before he does. And she didn't have Infinite Campus hooked up to notify her of those things, so we've helped with that. And she's struggling with her students, getting them motivated to do school and to not do some other things. And so that's one example that she didn't know. A lot of them do. I'm like, yeah, he doesn't, or she doesn't attend. I don't know what to do, kind of thing.
I think another thing too is some of the parents do not have a very positive experience at school. So therefore, it's not really high on their priority list, and if the kid comes home and maybe says, Mrs. Higgins was mad at me today, or I got in trouble today, then, parents might say, I just don't go. I mean, it's just kind of one of those things that it's just a cycle that we're gonna have to try to figure out a way to break.
I actually had a chat, I asked a child psych friend about chronic absenteeism, and that's something she pointed to, was making sure that parents get involved earlier. I asked her specifically about middle school, and she said it's almost too late, that we have to build that rapport early. So in my mind, I've been thinking it almost ties into having the preschool and building that rapport with our parents that early, where we're building the trust, the foundation, and seeing them through and getting parents involved in their education that early. So I kind of see these two goals together in a way.
Sure. Yeah, I agree.
One more data question. What was our percentage of chronic absenteeism? You guys said it happened mainly post-COVID. What was it on average prior to COVID?
So sorry to interrupt you.
You're good.
At our KISA visit, I'm obviously new, year two, and our percentage last year was 36% chronically absent. I'm like, oh gosh, that's high. And we pulled up the KISA data, and one year it was 17%. How do we go from, that's pre COVID, I'm like, 17%? How do you go from one to the other? And it's always been very low, at least at the high school, I can speak on that. But yeah, our goal is 6% at the high school reduction. That's a huge goal, but that's what our teachers decided to do.
Thank you.
Okay, elementary collaboration time came up as an issue when we were talking about this earlier this year. I think each of our elementaries do collaboration time within their buildings as far as, and I'll maybe let you guys speak a little bit to how you're doing that. And Sharon, do you mind if I pick on you? Since you're giving me the please don't make me talk.
I made eye contact.
Yeah. Talk about a little bit how you do collaboration time with your teachers, and then the challenges of doing that not only within your building but also across the district with some of the other buildings.
Yep. So at Eisenhower, we have what we call late start Wednesdays. Not late start for children. They still arrive at their normal times. our specials change, our schedule for the day on Wednesdays changes. We push our specials back an hour and double up one class so that we can do that, which doubling up a class isn't ideal, but we feel like the good outweighs the bad. So that gives us an additional like 40 to 50 minutes on Wednesday mornings to plan collaboration. So this can fluctuate. One Wednesday might be a teacher staff meeting. One Wednesday might be a para staff meeting. One Wednesday might be our like student of the month assembly. It's another way to get our assemblies in without disrupting class time, like either core or any other kind of class time. Grade levels can meet together at that time. It just kind of depends on the Wednesday as to what is set to be discussed and collaborate that day. So that's how we do it as a school. Getting together as a district's tricky as far as collaboration. We have our grade level meetings on in-service days typically, where first grade team meets all together, second grade team meets all together. That time's amazing. I wish there was a perfect answer to get that increased where our teams could get together more often. Because they work hard in the time that they have, but it's limited to our in-service days typically. So yeah, that's how we do collaboration at Eisenhower. We have our BLT, we have our GEI, that also function separately from that built-in Wednesday PLC time.
A lot of districts, as you know, do some sort of late start one day a week or every other week or however they have it structured where they have an early release. And that is specifically to target collaboration with teachers and all that, because if not, you're literally stuck to in-service days because you're rolling school. So these guys do an amazing job of building in collaboration time within their buildings, but it does make it difficult to do it across the district. So we've been kind of talking about that and trying to move forward with how that works best for each of our schools. Create a plan for students that fail core classes at the middle school. That has been a topic that got brought up last year that we are working on. Had some discussions with Mr. Meyer a little bit. We're pretty early in the infancy of coming up with that policy. So we don't have a lot for you yet, but we will be presenting that to you soon. But the general concept or the concern is by the time you get to high school, you have gone through grade by grade by grade, and typically currently, if you are doing poorly in a middle school class, then often you are still continued to move on to the next grade, to the next class. Meanwhile, we do have MTSS interventions running in the background of all of that, which helps, but at the same time, coming up with potentially a different plan on how there could be some teeth in that game for students, I think was the concept that we're working on with that.
And hopefully fixing some of the chronic absenteeism will also fix a little bit of that too, because it has to affect their grades as well.
So basically that was talking about students at class.
Correct. Yep.
You just moved on, so that's what we're working on, right? Fixing that.
Correct. Yep. What is putting some teeth in that for students and parents. Okay, on facilities, finalize future plans for upgrades to football and track facilities. So earlier this year, the board kind of put off dealing with the track right now and wanted to focus just specifically on the locker room situation. And so track is kind of on the back burner. And as you know, because it'll be on the agenda tonight as to where we're at with football. So I don't need to say a lot about that yet. We'll talk about that a little later in the evening. Okay, so we are, believe it or not, somehow, some way, our high school is 20 years old. I don't know how that happened, but it is there. And because of that, we have a lot of bonds that are coming off the books here pretty soon for our taxpayers. And within that, we need to talk about, as a district, whether there's interest from the board on doing some sort of future bond issue project that would allow us to get some things done in the district, some needs done without raising taxes, or at least putting out to our voters the possibility of the different options and the different tax levels that would require people to be at in order to get certain things done in the district. So that is a project that we will start talking about probably starting next month, is to start moving forward on where we want to go with that situation. Okay, so district communication came up as a concern. What we have been doing is the same as we've been going around and talking to site councils and our staff. So we have been giving them, having them fill out a Google form and give us some data based off of how they feel the website and communication is across the district. I know Russ has plans to interview each of you soon on your personal feelings on where that comes from. It tends to be very, very mixed. We get a lot of super positive things about communication in the district, and then we have other people that have concerns, and so we want to be able to take those things and move forward. And so that's kind of a very general goal, the way it's written and the way it came out of board talks. But one of the things that's really difficult, you want to kind of explain the website a little bit?
Yeah, I'm just wondering if we could make that goal or both of those goals a little bit more specific. And as far as, I'm gonna put that on this one, like, maybe not just collect data, but collect and respond to data from stakeholders. So that we're doing those interviews, we're doing surveys, and then find out really what the majority are seeing and make changes in that way. Because if we leave it as make the website more navigation friendly, that means different things to different people, and better communication means different things to different people as well. So would you mind if we changed the wording on that to be collect and respond to data from stakeholders, to make the website more navigation friendly, and collect and respond to data from stakeholders to create better communication in the district?
Jen, would you talk about compliancy on the website and some of the issues we're dealing with so people understand that a little bit?
Okay, yeah. So our district was chosen randomly to be audited for ADA compliance on our website. And of course, we weren't very ADA compliant. So I think we've learned a lot through that process, and we actually bought this website because it does help us to be more ADA compliant. But we still have a lot of work on our end. So a PDF can't be just a PDF. It has to be readable by a machine that someone who's blind or needs assistance can read, or in a format that it can read. And so do all of our pages on our website. So every picture has to be labeled. So before, when we had a lot of people helping us with the website, it made it a lot easier to get more information on. But now that there's so many compliancy protocols that we have to follow, it's important that we make sure that we know every time a picture is put on or a PDF is put on that it's going to be ADA compliant. So we are kind of on a probation for a little bit of a period, and the person in charge of it gives us little tasks to clean up, and we try to keep up with that. And we know that we'll never, totally be ahead of it, but we at least know what we're looking for now. And this website does help us a lot by giving us at least, now it won't let us put a picture on without identifying what the picture is. It kind of has like an exclamation mark, where before we could just load it up with all kinds of pictures. So that's kind of an example of what we do with that.
Are we able to handle all of that work internally, or do we just mainly rely on the external people for like consultation, and we just do the tasks internally?
Are you asking if we fix those problems internally?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Our internal team fixes all the issues to get us up to
Yes.
compliance. Okay.
Yes.
I didn't know if we were outsourcing that to somebody.
No, okay, no, we're not. And when we first found out about this, we thought that this website would just automatically fix it all, but it just alerts us, so.
Okay.
But we're getting better at it and faster.
So like the middle school handbooks online, how do you change that so it's all can be read to you, or how do you change
So
that?
I
What do you
think it's
do?
called OCR.
Optical
Or-
I'm just curious. 'cause I don't
Our
know.
Yeah.
BoE program that we purchased has that capability to change PDFs to do that.
Yeah, so we have to just make sure that we do that before we post it on there.
Okay. Last three we have, so we recently changed gifted staff, and so Mr. Starnes, who was here this evening with the students, is doing an amazing job, and we're super happy with his work. And one of the things that we were trying to target that we feel was a push that the district needed was when we have our GEI groups, when we are looking for interventions that students need, whether it be behaviorally or academic. We have the opportunity now to have him come and give ideas on enrichment for students that potentially would need that the teachers have noticed that a student is needing additional in the classroom, but they're not necessarily, you have to, when you take the test to be in the gifted program, you have to meet these, specific marks. We have a lot of kids out there that may take that test and they may, miss it by a couple points. But we should still be, I felt like we were low across the district in being able to do enrichment in those areas. And so we have done a pretty big push recently to try to continue to add enrichment above Tier 1, just regular Tier 1 services for those students who are higher but not necessarily, it doesn't have to be in the gifted program, just trying to target some of those higher students in our district and provide them. One of the things that education, just in general, since No Child Left Behind, we have constantly been targeting. We have our MTSS tier system. We're constantly trying to bring our lower students up. That's what the expectation is, always, always, always. And so a lot of our staff spend massive amounts of time on that. And I think education, just in general, has gotten into a habit where some of those enrichment pieces. Even though I think we have tons of teachers that do an amazing job with that on their own. As far as a system approach, we're trying to target some of those kids a little better than we had before. And so Mr. Starnes has been helping with us at that, and that was the concept behind that, and appreciate his work. And that's very, it's going to be slow to get going, but hopefully over time we can do that. I know our elementary teachers across the district do an amazing job of trying to get enrichment in for kids.
Did we hire somebody else to help? I thought we did.
Not for and gifted.
We did. Not necessarily a gifted person, but like.
Yeah.
Some.
Nope. I talked earlier about the window that I see opening, both with, I shouldn't say the window that we see opening with the foundation of curriculum that the district has been working on putting into place over several years, and then moving forward into accreditation, in which Jen just showed you the 4 fundamentals on instruction. And so one of the things that I also think is a weakness for the district is, as I had said before, the expectations across the district for instruction. I think we have master teachers across this district. I also think we have teachers who are very early in their careers and learning, and the support they get from central office. Jen can't solve the world, constantly. So one of the things I brought up last year that we would like to move forward towards is to both meet accreditation goals and to drive things in the district is to have some instructional strategists. It says instructional coaches up there, but we kind of like the job title of instructional strategists. that would come in and work with our teachers across the district, regardless of where they're at in their careers and their growth towards becoming better and better instructors. And we really see it as a relationship piece, which is why we changed it from coach to strategist. We really see it as a piece that can help drive instruction in the district that is very relationship based. So this person is working with you where you're at and not coming in and telling you what to do. It's more like, where are you at? Where is your growth process? And as a professional, and how can we help move that forward? So that is something that we would like to start here for the fall of 24, and so that was something that got brought up as a goal last summer as well. Yes, Pat.
Okay, I bought into the coach thing when we were making these goals, but since I talked to people at the high school through their groups and things, I got two ways to tell this story, because I talked to Jen and she explained something one way, so I'll just start with my first story.
Sure.
I don't think the people at the high school necessarily, the seasoned teachers, the teachers that have been there, need a coach. I mean, they already feel, JJ's giving them in services and they're already feeling like, can I teach please? I've been doing this forever, and they are doing these things, and yet they have to go be retaught something. And if you bring in a coach for those people and tell them, this coach is gonna start telling them what to do. No, I don't mean what to do in that sense, that sounds, like your mother, but sharing what they think they would help them. The high school, elementary schools, the middle school have interventionists that work with kids, reading and math. When you get to the high school, there's no one. You have help until, oops, I'm a freshman now. I don't get any help other than the MTSS, which is a computer program that's just there. The coaches would help the teachers, but the instructionalists would work with students that needed that help. Like in the middle school, if you say you're tier 2 or 3 in reading, you go to the interventionist part of your day. You do that in the elementary school, they have to do their MTSS, but the high school has nothing. And so you've had this help and then it just stops. So I like the idea of hiring high school interventionists. I talked to Jen the other night, and we have so many teachers that aren't certified that I could see using a coach for them, to help them that aren't certified and might need some help and are kind of lost with their thoughts and where they're going. But the idea of coaches for all the teachers, I think it might be better spent with interventionists if we could even find them. And if we find them, maybe we should say, hey, you ought to go teach English because we don't have a real teacher in English yet. That's a problem. So I don't like the idea of coaches anymore, unless it's specified for teachers working on their certification to have. That's who the coaches we work with.
Can I speak to that?
Sure.
So, and this is just my experience, and then JJ or Audrey, if you guys want to jump in, you're welcome to. Just my experience background-wise with that, we had, when I was at the high school, I know it's been a few years now, we did 2 interventionist pushes as far as 2 strategies, I should say, not interventionists, but we had one strategy that we used as a building-wide strategy. So essentially, we took goals that were low across our district. So looking at all the test scores of the high school students, what were we low at? What, growing up through our system and then getting to high school, what were some standards that for whatever reason we were low across the school? And so we spent some time back when we first put together Crusader Connections, is what it was called at the time, and CruCon, and then putting that in. The teachers then worked with the kids just specifically on those standards to try to bring the whole building up in those standards. That was intervention number one, and that did okay. But that was all just the teachers working on that within CruCon, which I know is not here anymore. The other thing that we did that I see as a challenge in that is we've had some teachers on our staff that chose to run some intervention classes and as one of their preps throughout the day. And so if we had students that were scoring low on FastBridge or whatever, we would put them in with those teachers and we would require them to go to those intervention classes. What we found with high school students is that there is so much going on with high school students. They want to be in band, they want to be in ag, they want to be in all this. And so when you pull them out of one of those classes in order to take the time to do intervention, then we had students that were unhappy. We had parents that were trying to pull them out of those classes because they didn't want to miss out on the things that they were interested in by the time they got in high school and had all those opportunities to do things. And so I'm not saying that's the end all, that's just looking back at it, that is where my brain goes when we're talking about interventions at the high school level. Not that those students shouldn't continue to work towards
time, that should alleviate taking them out of a class, a band or a art class or something they like? Would that alleviate taking them away from one of the classes that they prefer?
It could. I mean, yeah.
I mean, if you use that time as, what do you guys use? You have two different times, nighttime and what else? Quest.
Quest is how we structure the MTSS.
So when do your people go to intervention?
During Quest.
During Quest.
Yeah, so a time
That's
like,
opposite of PE.
okay,
So they're not losing their elective classes. Because they go to PE and then they go to their Quest classes and it just flops the 2 hours.
so I mean, high school could figure out something like that. They wouldn't be.
Do you guys want to speak to any of that, or?
So
that's historical on my part, so you.
We put out to our teachers to see, because that's what we hear a lot. We need intervention, we need intervention. There is one school in our region, at the Region 6 Principals Conference I went to, that does intervention with their kids. They do it 25 minutes a day. It is Central Burden, which is quite a bit smaller than us, but kind of have the same ratio. And so we've talked about that with our staff to see if they think building-wide intervention would benefit, just to get an idea for 25 minutes, a 25-minute period. And it's mixed review. Teachers, some think interventionists, some think building-wide would be good during a 25-minute period. CruCon, you switch on and off. Some think, they've been intervening since third grade, and if they're still in the same tier, then they don't know that there's a purpose to it if they haven't made movements. Just the feedback that we've gotten on that.
Then should they somewhere along the way been identified?
Some of them,
I mean,
yeah.
it sounds like you're saying
If
they've had all
you're,
this intervention, and by the time they're in freshmen, you can do more and more intervention, but it just doesn't work because they didn't get it before.
well, that was just a response I had from one of our staff members.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I've had them say that.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, that sounds like we're dropping the ball with our special education.
Well, our special education students receive extra time. They receive an extra class period to receive that help or that intervention they need.
And not always are you gonna
Yeah.
be identified because you are a tier 2 student all the way through. You could, I mean, there's a lot of students that are gonna be potentially tier 2 all the way through, but not have a learning disability or something to qualify for special education.
But part of that question too is why are we losing them?
Right.
Potentially tier 1. So even talking to TASN and KSDE and looking at our data before, they said, look at your core. How can you improve your core so you're not losing kids to the
Absolutely.
tier 2 and tier 3?
Yeah, that's where we do need.
So essentially, if we make that focus, not saying that interventions aren't needed, they're absolutely needed, but if we focus our attention on our core and improve our core, ideally, those numbers in tier 2 and 3 will come down with intervention support.
And one thing I totally agree with you on is I do think that the teachers early in their careers are absolutely need the most support. Absolutely. I like the dreamy world, and maybe it's a dreamy world in my head, as everybody in our district receiving support and working towards getting better, as we all should, all the way till we retire. But the reality of the start of the program is that they're going to be the ones that need the most need, for sure. So.
Can I ask, I love the idea of professional instruction and development, but do we have room in our budget for 2 more positions with what we just went through with negotiations and all that?
We would, yes, we would be able to handle that, and I would be able to speak to the board with more specifics on that in the future. Before we actually did any hiring, I would be able to speak to that.
Kind of along those lines, do we, and I have no idea if this is even something anybody would be interested in, but have we looked internally to see if there's anybody that a teacher that might be able to take on something that would be more fulfilling to them to help,
Yeah, we would, as far as opening the positions, you mean?
Well, not even, maybe just like a supplemental thing, that they did supplementally to increase their, some people are just natural leaders and wanna help and mentor other people, so
Sure.
offering that opportunity to another person before we hire externally.
Yeah, and so we would always open the job internally and externally to see and try to get the best candidates. We have some amazing teachers in the district that would, that would be great candidates for this, potentially, so, for sure. But yes, I will be able to speak budget-wise specifics before that was actually posted. And then Jen, you want to talk about STEM, what you're doing with science and STEM?
So at our last in-service day, we got together to start talking about how we can implement STEM within our science curriculum. And in the past, we have implemented our science standards where we want to within our curriculum. And if we put those in a pacing guide to make sure that we're hitting those each quarter, and the teachers coming together to create these STEM activities that that would not only meet the science standards, science and math standards, but would be within the curriculum. So that's what we are working on to ensure that happens.
Okay, is it easy for them to get materials for the STEM projects?
Yes, in fact, in the summer, I usually send all their science materials to the school. We order, all kinds of things that are going to be used, but STEM-wise, we've also bought several materials in the library. And that's another thing that will help by having it in the pacing guide, so that if kindergarten's using it, in the fall and another grade level needs to use it, then we can kind of correspond that so that everybody gets a chance to use those materials. But we've got some really nice STEM materials, and we're getting more all the time.
Okay, any other questions on goals? I appreciate the time. Just wanted to go through that, especially for our new people.
So what's your plan on that, Adam? You want to bring that back? I mean, it's just a discussion item, and a good discussion tonight.
Yep.
But do you want to bring that back like next board meeting or?
We will bring pieces of it. So one of the things that Russ and I talked about, and I put it in on this agenda. One of the things that we're going to start doing is on your agenda is specifically putting that it's targeted, we're targeting a district goal within the agenda item. And so we put that on one of those, because we're talking about the locker room tonight. We specifically targeted that, and so, I don't know that we need to go over this each time and take this time, but, for each goal that is up there, to have that targeted on there, so that you guys know what's going on.
Okay, awesome. So if anybody has any other questions or needing more clarity on that, reach out to Adam, and I'm sure you can kind of fill in some blanks.
Yep, I'd be happy to.
A lot of information to cover, and it's kind of hard to soak it all in a meeting like this, so. Okay, so moving on, next item, looks like we're moving on to discussion, or action item, sorry, and it's a community locker room.
Yes, so as I discussed in your notes, we have, I want to do a big thank you to Brandon and Pat, who have put in quite a bit of time with the committee that we're working on with the city of Wellington towards the community building / locker room. It is very much so far in the process, is very much a 50-50 process as far as expectations of who is going to be in charge and financially, all the things that are involved with this. Before you have some renderings of just kind of a general concept that the architect from Gravity Works has given the committee, and then just a general layout of what the committee kind of felt like was a good general layout of what they liked for a locker room concept. And so what you would be doing this evening is you would be voting towards engaging that architect into doing more detailed work, which would cost money beyond this, and have them start working with the committee, with the city, with the board on the final blueprints and designs for the building that everybody feels good about. So,
Should we make copies for people out here? Just because one time I was supposed to give everybody a copy. Jason.
It's in my packet, is it not? Was it
it's,
not
it's on the
distributed?
website.
It was distributed.
Yeah, it's on the web. We put all documents on the website for the public before
I just keep, I remember that time I had to pass out stuff.
So that is, so the way the architect works is the total project cost, which is estimated right now at $800,000, around that mark. That is not official, that's just a guesstimate. The contract that we would be signing with the architect would be for 6%. The district would be paying for 3% of that, and the city paying for their 3% of that as we continue to move forward and put the architect to work on more detailed drawings. Which essentially means the board is interested in possibly bidding this to construction companies in the future, and so we need to have biddable drawings for them to bid on in the future. And so this is engaging the architect to start towards that work.
Other discussion or thoughts on that?
I have several questions.
Okay.
I know that you had answered them through email, which I appreciate.
Yeah, that's okay.
I just wanted to publicly make them
Sure.
Available for people watching, because a lot of these came from public.
Yep.
Who is paying for the maintenance and utilities of the building?
So the discussion within the committee, and I'm not the committee, Brandon and Pat are here as well, but everything that has been talked about, the city has been a 50-50. There's never been anything talked about that has not been 50-50 at this time. So I would assume that goes right along with that as well.
And then would this space be large enough with the current drawings, like as far as, I don't know, I didn't look at the ceilings, but who would be able to utilize this building? Would it be like the dancers, like the cheerleaders, like those types of other groups within the school? Or would it just be, like, who could utilize the building?
So the purpose for both the city and for the schools is for us to have a locker room facility for football games. And then also use bathrooms for tennis meets, other things that happen down there. And then also for the city, for the community to have a building down at the park to use throughout the year. And that's one of the things that I really like about this project is you're using tax dollars not just for something that's only gonna be used on Friday nights in the fall. It is available for the community to use, and I'm sure that, for responsible parties, people could have class reunions there, people could have, it would become a community space. And so the original concept, as discussed by the committee, is to have locker rooms on either side of the building so that the teams are spaced from each other. But also make the building functional so that the inner doors can open up and there's a middle community space, and so it can all become a big community space for whatever is needed. So the city, it is on city property as far as the ground. The city would own the building, but would essentially, the district would be subleasing the building, and the city would be giving us some sort of paperwork guarantee of equal rights and use to the building for however many years that the board would approve based off of that. So.
Okay, so what makes it a locker room? Have we even gotten that far yet?
We haven't gotten that far
Okay.
yet. There's been discussion. Pat and I were talking about that tonight.
Okay.
What goes in it that makes it a locker, and what is it that, I don't think anybody thinks about renting a community space that looks exactly like a locker room. So I think if we're gonna do this as a partnership with the city, then there's got to be a come together on what that looks like. How do we make it very functional for our coaches and our teams and all that on Friday nights, but then also have it available for the community the rest of the year. And so there's got to be some combo type things that make that work.
Okay. And then do we have anything in terms of like donations, like not in writing, but just a better idea of what we can expect in terms of what people are intending to pledge for this project?
So I don't have specifics on some. I know we have a patron that has pledged $15,000 towards the project, which I will bring up next month as well. We would like to kind of do a donation drive. The committee definitely talked about doing a donation drive to help finance this project as a need for the community. And so I think at both the city meeting next month as well as at the school board meeting, we would like to announce that and see what interested parties are in the community that would be interested in that. On the city side, in the committee, there were mentions of people talking to other patrons in the community that were wanting to donate, but they did not mention amounts or specifics or anything like that.
And have the donors given any, like, I'm only gonna donate if it gets done in this time frame or in this capacity?
The donor that has been specific with me did not say that.
Okay.
So if that has come on the city side, then I'm not
Okay.
sure about that.
And what is the expected time frame for completion?
Well, the original goal was to try to have it done by this coming football season. Now, when we get into the process, whether that will happen or not, I don't want to say that for sure, and then that doesn't happen.
Right.
But I would say we are. I mean, with this vote tonight for spending money on architectural drawings, we are as far towards this project as we've ever been in the community for a number of years now. So, which is good.
And then I assume in terms of if it gets rented out, the revenue is split 50-50 as well?
I would assume
Okay.
so. Yeah, that would be a detail.
Wouldn't it just go back towards the debt service?
Or yeah, probably so.
Maintenance or?
Yeah, just go back towards the debt.
Yeah.
I mean, there's gonna be debt on it. So.
Yeah, so all that stuff is still in. It's all got to get worked out still.
All I had.
Okay.
I know we touched on this in our work session, but I'm still a little foggy on it. What is the exact location we're talking about?
So down by the tennis courts, to the north of the skateboard park.
Kind of showing my age, but do you remember the old Girl Scout house?
No, I'm a transplant. So they said Girl Scout house
Okay.
last time, and I was
You
like,
know where
I don't know.
behind the old junior high, that parking lot that's
Yes.
right
Straight
south
south
of it.
of it.
Okay, that's where I
Yeah.
pictured.
In my lucky parking spot.
And Bob, while we're talking about your lucky parking spot, that parking lot the district owns, that is between the old junior high and the tennis court, and it needs work like nobody's business. So that's something, whether we talk about it with bond, whether we talk about it with other things as we go, I don't think the district wants a giant, nice community building next to the worst parking lot on the planet. So that's something definitely that And then we can put up your little sign, Bob, for that nobody can park there except for you.
With the donation.
That's what I was gonna say.
Who brought that up?
I did last night at Collegiate, about parked there and had to back up. They had a string across, then they had a little yellow tag that said, reserve parking for people that held like a activity pass or something. I'm like, okay, I'll move.
Yeah.
Make money that way.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts or questions on that?
Are we sure that these room sizes are big enough for a locker room?
Yeah, he went back to a couple of different locker rooms that they've done.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's, I have no
I think the
idea
middle
how
was
big
gonna
it
get
needs
smaller.
to be.
We kind of measured in the, with the auxiliary tiles.
That works.
Standard.
There's other questions, I'll make a motion to approve, the contract with Gravity Works.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same.
Thank you.
Moving on. 2024 BoE committee assignment.
Jim, will you go to that? Will you go to that page, please?
Excuse me.
You want me to put it here?
Please. It's the fourth page. It's just the fourth page. Right there. Perfect. Thank you. Okay, I gave you this sheet at the planning session last week. It's just kind of the district's general idea of committees for this year. Facility committee, and obviously, if we start talking bond issue, that could even be even more. That committee could be even busier than expected. I'm thinking 2 members on that to continue to work on projects across the district and get those things going. Negotiations committee is a very heavy committee as far as time commitment. And then we typically have 2 members on that committee for the year. The 2 things that came out of negotiations this year as far as a subcommittee is insurance committee, as Josh mentioned earlier tonight. And so having 1 member on that, we already have a meeting date for that. And then also negotiations supplemental committee to look over the supplemental salaries in the negotiated agreement, and so we agreed to that, and so there is a date for that as well. And so really, as far as the board is concerned, I mentioned in the planning session, you have 2 people that are gonna be on negotiations anyway. You could have the same 2 people take care of these, but it's just more time and more commitment. But the nice thing about that is these people would also be going back to the table, having been a part of those conversations, which would be important. Policy committee, 2 members. KSB puts out their policy recommendations twice a year, and so we meet at least that. But if other things arise, then we call the policy committee together. We are actually ready. Russ is ready to call one of those meetings right now as soon as we get our people. So we would have one soon. Calendar committee is also coming up in a couple weeks, and so that is an early in the year committee. We try to have our calendar done by March-ish. It's nice to have it done before that, but I'd like to have the board vote on that fairly soon. And so that is to do the 24-25 district calendar. And so 1 member for that. And then we thought that a communications website committee to kind of have those discussions around what we talked about earlier with district goals would be helpful to us. The nice thing about these committees, even though they're more time consuming, is you have experts that come out of these committees back to the table. And so just like Brandon talked about with the locker room, you have somebody who is part of those discussions that is part of your board that can make that happen. So those are committees that the district felt were important for this year. And if you have any committees that you feel like you would like to add to that, that is completely fine. That's just our brains working on what we kind of see coming up. So we would ask for membership to each of those committees if possible.
I'd like to stay on facility if that's all right. That's where I work and stuff.
I'll stay on negotiations.
I'd like to be on the facilities.
I'd like to be on policy.
I'd like to do communication.
I'll do negotiation.
Right.
Andrea.
So I agree with your suggestion that I'm sorry for those that volunteer for the negotiation committee. Those subcommittees really do probably need to be those people, because otherwise you have a issue of 3 board members communicating that could, I mean, talk to one other one and we got a communication issue or become a violation, so.
Yep.
Okay, we got everything filled?
Nope.
What do you need?
We
What do you
have,
need?
we have facility filled, we have, negotiations filled. Who wants to be on which,
I'll be on
as far as
I'll be
Andrea
on the
and
calendar
Pat,
committee.
supplementals and insurance?
Up to you.
No, pick a number, pick a number. Do 1 and 10. Okay, mine's 4. This is who's on the subcommittee, the negotiations committee. I mean, yeah. Your turn.
Just say your ones in.
7.
Who's closest?
He has no idea.
He didn't pick a number.
Oh, me?
Okay, I'll do that supplementals.
Supplementals for Pat, and then, insurance for Andrea. We had 1 policy, so we need 1 more policy.
Anybody want to do policy?
I can stay on it. That's fine.
Okay.
And calendar.
I volunteered for calendar.
Get nothing.
Quit laughing at me.
You volunteer for calendar?
Yeah.
Okay, and then, yes, communications, so we're good. Does anybody wanna add a committee?
We've had more, but I don't want them to work.
Does each committee member meet with you, or who meets with who?
Okay,
Good
good question.
question.
Good question. Thank you for saying that. Okay, so the facility committee traditionally has been Kelly and myself and Darcy for finances. We also have Mike Cliffman, who's our director of maintenance, comes in. And then we will often have companies that we're working with on different projects will come in to discuss things. But that's the general core. Am I missing anybody there? Negotiations is typically Darcy and myself and the 2 board members is typically how that is. And then obviously WNEA forms their committee. Then subcommittees are obvious. Policy committee is typically myself and Russ. Russ works directly with KSB on all of our policy work, and so we typically just have the 4 of us, Russ and myself, and the 2 board members. And then calendar committee is 2 WNEA members from the high school, 2 from the middle school, 1 from each elementary, and then WNEA leadership and myself. And then superintendent has 3 people and a board member now. And then superintendent brings on usually a couple. It's a pretty big committee, but it's also pretty democratic. So it's kind of spread across the district, and it's one of the more democratic committees we have. And then communications website's new. We just came up with that this year because we thought that would be good. Would be good feedback from the board table to the committee.
So typically, I don't know, send out like an email saying that we're gonna try to meet for this particular committee at this particular day.
Okay.
Yep.
Try to schedule those appointments the best you can.
Yep. Yeah, and I get to go to all of them. So that's my level. Okay, so I think we're good there?
We're good on that.
Okay.
Okay, thanks everybody.
Thank you very much, yeah, I appreciate it.
Volunteering. Next thing is 2024 BoE officers.
Yes, we, this evening, need to discuss and elect, for 2024, a president and vice president of the board.
would open the floor for nominations for president or vice president.
I nominate Brandon Earl for president.
Got a nomination? Do I hear a second?
I would second that.
Got a second. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same.
Opposed?
There we go.
Head more. Okay. So we have the president, we need a vice president.
I'd like to make a motion to approve or to nominate Pat Zika.
Got a nomination for Pat as vice president.
I'll second.
Got a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same.
Aye.
Aye. Try your roll call. I don't
Let's-
have a count on that.
Let's do a roll call. Brandon Earl,
Yes.
Andrea Kreifels,
No.
Sarah Lawrence,
Yes.
Jason Newberry,
No.
Jessica Seeliger,
Yes.
Robert White,
No.
Pat Zika.
Yeah.
Officers are now elected. Do we change tonight, right now, Adam, or do we finish out this meeting and then?
Or whatever, it's up
Yeah,
to you
that
guys.
works for me. One last run here. Sorry for my voice sounding all funny. Kind of been fighting something off, so I'm a min though, so that's a good thing. Okay, moving on. Executive session?
We move.
No, we moved that, sorry, my bad. Administrative reports.
Anything you wanna share? Already made you talk a lot, so.
Yeah. Appreciate you guys being here tonight. It helped on the discussion a lot, so. Okay, not hearing anything, we're gonna move on to board member comments. We're gonna start down here with Brandon.
I don't have a lot. Yeah, thanks everyone for coming. Thanks for all the communication. It's great. Hopefully you're starting your second half of the school year goes well. But I don't have anything else.
Okay. I don't have anything except welcome to the new board members. It's a ride, so.
I do. So I don't know the appropriate time to bring this up, but I would just like to throw this out there that our policy of having people, the public, sign up to be able to speak officially says 5 days before, but yet we have instances like this week where the official agenda wasn't published until the day before. So I don't think that that's fair. So I would like to discuss that in the future if possible. Like I said, I don't know if this is the right time.
Okay.
And then another thing that I would like to discuss is with these committees being elected or decided on, I would love to have some time on the agenda during these meetings to get input from every committee member with updates. Cause I don't know that that communication has always been there, so I would like to feel confident in what's going on, you know, as a board member in all the other committees, so I can speak with people that might have questions for me. Just having really good communication about updates from the committees. One other thing is going back to the board comments from Mr. Meyer. I think on page 6 we called it chronic absenteeism, or I'm sorry, we call it chronic absenteeism, but in our handbook, I think we call it excessive absences. So is that the same term? Like excessive absences, is that the same thing that we're calling chronic absenteeism? I just think terminology is important, and so if it is, we just maybe need to make a change in the handbook to reflect those terms.
It's going to default to you on this.
It's not the same.
So the way I've always seen it in the handbook, I mean, since I've been at the middle school, our school adopts a policy on excessive absences, like how many it is, and I think it's 5 in the middle school handbook.
Yes.
So basically, when a student reaches 5 absences, that's considered excessive by our board. And whether it's excused or unexcused. So if they get to 5, that doesn't mean that it meets the chronic
Okay,
status.
so they are different.
Because chronic is 10%.
Okay,
So
I appreciate that. Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah.
That's all I had.
I just wanted to take a minute. As some of you know, I lost my dad right after the election, and I wanted to thank Adam and everybody at the district office for your support, for keeping me in the loop. Everything kind of happened right before we were supposed to start training, and you guys were so great to me and my family, and so we really appreciate that. I'm gonna make up some training here in a couple weeks, but thank you for working with me and
Yeah, absolutely.
keeping me there and for all the support there.
Sure.
Also, I wanted to ask Adam, in this setting, do you mind speaking to snow days? We hear a lot of, when I was in school, I could walk to school both ways, and, you know. Can you tell us are there any actual policies? What goes into you making the call? Just so that, this goes back to me liking the communication. So that we know and we can answer those questions when we're asked.
So there is no science to it necessarily. The alarm goes off at 4:15. The coffee starts, and then it depends on. Honestly, it depends on what's going on as far as weather reports, and there's days that, for instance, last Friday when I had to call. That was one of the more stressful ones because hit the road at 4:30, and literally at that time there were snowflakes coming down, but it wasn't even sticking. It was, and so when it rolls in late like that, it's really tough because you're just guessing. And so I drove around for about an hour and a half that day because it was, and as it rolled in, and then slowly, started sticking to cars, slowly started sticking the road, and then, you're watching the radar and watching it roll in. And then talking to superintendents in districts around us and trying to have conversations about how their communities are looking, especially if you can talk to some of the superintendents that are where the weather is coming that way, then you can get an idea of what you might get. So you're just doing the best you can. At the end of the day, it's a gut call, and you make the best decision you can. But then this last one was much easier. At 4:00 in the morning, it's already icy and pretty bad, and you really have to think about a lot of things as far as you have young children at bus stops, you have elderly people that are bringing grandchildren to school that are potentially walking on our sidewalks. And you have lots of things going on that come into the factor of it. So yeah, but it literally at the end of the day, it's my call, and then I either get blasted or everybody's happy.
Right.
So,
I just think it helps that people know you're not sitting at home in your jammies.
Yeah, just my feet kicked up like
yeah.
No, that's definitely not. Yeah,
Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah, you bet.
Yeah, I got nothing.
I was just glad to see the Bridge scores, and people that said that was interesting, and actually, when I read all the principal reports, I love that Lincoln spent money on a gag. Was it gag? Is that how you say that?
Gaga, I think is how they
My
pronounce
grandkids
it.
tried to make one outside one time, and I never even. I'm like, guys, you're crazy. Took lots of stuff, and so that was kind of cool.
It's the new dodgeball.
Yeah.
Safe
and,
dodgeball. School appropriate dodgeball.
Yeah, the name's real cool too. And then Washington's tree trimming. I was a part of that 100 years ago, and it's been going on for 100 years, so that was cool. And I like that you call your MTSS prime time. I think that's kind of a new buzzword. And then Kennedy, it's really neat to see that lots of kids want to come up there. It's a great place. So, and I said something good there. Oh, the thrift shop. Your husband's class, if you guys want to see what the high school kids have done, go to the thrift shop. It's so impressive.
That was really nice.
Yeah, it is so impressive what they've done. So that's a shout out to them. That's all.
That's Pat.
Have we had any issues with Textcaster, kind of going back to the snow day, I haven't personally, me or my family or people I know haven't received one since the end of November. So I didn't know if it was like a me issue or
Oh, I understand.
you did, okay, I know other
Yeah.
people did,
Well, and I know
but,
like my phone, I can't get it on mine. I've tried signing up for it and it must be our server or
okay,
something.
I
at
used
work,
to get
but-
them and then all of a sudden they just stopped,
I actually
so,
had a couple people say that to me.
okay.
Mhm.
Did you get a new phone, Sarah, or
No.
no, same old
And I
phone?
went even onto your website to try to authorize it, like I went to like, oh, we're gonna send you a 5-digit code, never
That's
even
what I-
got the
yeah,
code.
that's how I am too.
Yeah,
I had the
so
same issue and they had me, type in stop and exit
Yeah,
out and then.
I did that.
Oh, you, okay.
Yeah,
Oh, you did?
Jessica was like, try this, so I tried those things and it just did not work. So I can deal with it, you know, on my own, but I just didn't know if it was maybe a system-wide thing or just a me thing, so.
Yes, yeah.
Next thing we have is the executive session.
I would make a motion, we go to executive session for 20 minutes to discuss non-elected personnel to include Adam, Jim, and Bob Meyer. Regular session to resume at 8:06.
Got a motion?
I second.
Got a second? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say. Okay.
Yeah.
Take care. Hey, check those text messages.
We're there, James.
We are?
Yeah.
Okay, we are back in open session, no action was taken. And we are moving on to the consent agenda.
Okay, consent agenda. Approve the minutes of the December 11th meeting. Approve payroll and bills. Payroll $1,266,177.27. Bills $401,477.73. Our transfers at risk is $150,000 and vocations $50,000. Personnel, approved new hires. Christy Whaley, spelling bee, middle school. Matthew Mason, assistant track coach, high school. Jeremy Woods, para at WCA. Dana Byers, secretary, Lincoln. Jennifer Blackman, para at the high school. Madison Hurlson, para at Kennedy. Approve resignations. McKenna Adams, assistant softball coach, high school. Ariel Peeler, para at the high school. And Autumn Cochran, para at Lincoln. And approve transfers, position changes. Maria Ybarra, para to high school para. And Chrissy Dennison, high school para to middle school para.
I move we accept the consent agenda as read.
Okay, got a motion to approve. Need a second? Got a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same. Okay, consent agenda approved. And with that, I believe we are done. Thank you all for being here tonight.
Thank you all
Thank
very
you,
much.
Jason, for
Yep.
2 years.
Yeah, yeah.
My maybe middle school tomorrow is gonna be -12. Good deal.
Tuesday works out.
There.
How
about Monday? You're gonna cancel school Monday, right?
Monday's gonna be